This is New York's slimmest skyscraper, 10 years and over $107 million in land to build. It blocks the Empire State Building from the street where it made its name. 26 apartments, 860 feet tall, 17 months on the market, no deals signed. How do you build one of the skinniest skyscrapers in New York City history on a lot smaller than most suburban backyards and still get it approved? Why does a city facing its worst housing shortage since 1968 keep signing off on towers designed for buyers who may never actually live there, who decided that blocking the most photographed angle of the Empire State Building was an acceptable trade-off for 26 apartments starting at $7.5 million? And if the building is as exclusive and desirable as its developer claims, why hasn't a single unit sold? Architects sometimes joke that there are 3 unwritten rules for building in New York City. First, fit in and add value. Don't wreck the skyline. Second, bring real substance, not just style. Building ultra-luxury homes for the mega-rich in a city facing a housing crisis is going to go down like a lead balloon. And third, whatever you do, don't block the Empire State Building. 262 Fifth Avenue appears to break all 3. At the center of New York's skyline, rising from the corner of 34th Street and 5th Avenue, stands the Empire State Building. It is to New York what Big Ben is to London, the Eiffel Tower is to Paris. For decades, anyone could appear from virtually any avenue, subway, or bus and use it like a constellation to guide themselves around Manhattan. But the best view was never from directly below. Stand at Madison Square Park 5 blocks south. Look north. The avenue runs straight. No bends, no curves. For most of the last century, that straight line delivered something urban planners in other cities spend decades trying to manufacture. The Empire State Building framed perfectly at the end of the corridor. Art Deco crown, clean sky, nothing in between. That was the postcard. That was the film shot. That was the view that told a visitor exactly where they were in the world. Now look north from that same spot. There's a wall of aluminum cladding. 262 Fifth Avenue has placed itself directly between the park and the tower, like someone stepping in front of a camera at the exact moment the shutter clicks. It doesn't need to be taller to block it. It just needs to be wide enough and close enough to fill the frame. New Yorkers have some thoughts about that. Boris Kuznets, a billionaire who built Moscow's version of Billionaire's Row, spent $101.8 million assembling 3 adjacent parcels between 2015 and 2016. He paid another $5.8 million for air rights. That's over $107 million before a single permit was filed. Moscow-based firm Meganom, making their first American commission, designed a tower drawing inspiration from aeronautics. Full-floor residences, floor-to-ceiling glass. A 70-foot golden arch crown visible from the park below. Initial plans called for over 1,000 feet. By April 2024, the tower topped out at 860 feet, one of the skinniest residential skyscrapers ever built in New York City. The Attorney General signed off on sales in December 2024. The broker, tapped to lead the launch, called it a concert, with only 26 tickets. "We only have 26 tickets to this concert," he said. "The prices are only going to go one direction." That was the plan. Here's what actually happened. The slenderness ratio is 19:1. The Empire State Building has a ratio of roughly 3:1. The famously thin 432 Park Avenue sits at 15:1. At 19:1, 262 Fifth Avenue doesn't just push the boundary, it moves it somewhere new. The entire building sits on 5,000 square feet of land. Each floor plate measures just 45 by 45 feet, smaller than many of the apartments it's supposed to replace in the neighborhood below. Picture a pencil standing upright on a playing card. That's the structural problem the engineers had to solve and then convince people to live inside. Their solution required relocating the building's core entirely. That central spine housing elevators, stairs, plumbing, and mechanical systems was pushed to the western edge of the structure. The result is that the residential floors don't wrap around a central structure. They extend outward from it like shelves bolted to one side of a wall, open on 3 sides, supported on one. Meganom said they wanted to put people on viewing platforms in the air. Interior architects praise the column-free residences that offer full-floor customization. Translation: high investment potential. Apartments worth even more money. The answer to how a building like this gets approved isn't engineering, it's zoning. A 5,000 square foot lot purchased air rights and no sightline protection laws. That's how. Then the wind numbers came in. A key challenge with any skyscraper is the sideways force of wind, something far more severe the thinner the building. At 860 feet with a 45-foot width, 262 Fifth Avenue required purpose-built solutions at every level. The primary threat is vortex shedding. As wind flows around a slender structure, it breaks into spinning vortices that detach from alternating sides, creating a rhythmic side-to-side pull. At sufficient amplitude, that rhythm matches the building's natural frequency. Each cycle adds to the last, like pushing a swing at exactly the right moment. Engineers call it resonance. Residents would call it something else. At a ratio of 19:1, the building will move in high winds. That is physics, not a flaw. The engineering question is how much and whether the people on those upper floors can feel it. Look closely, and you'll notice a gap approximately 2/3 of the way up the structure. That's a windbreak, a deliberate void cut into the facade to let air pass through rather than pile up against it, interrupting the vortex cycle before it builds. One facade is also fitted with an aluminum and triple glazed curtain wall system that helps reduce wind pressure on the building's frame. These are not standard features, they are engineering workarounds built specifically because this building is this thin on this site. Observers noted the tower visibly moved in strong winds before the facade was complete. One wrote in early 2024, "The tower is very thin when it's hit by a strong wind. Will something happen?" That question has not been officially answered, and it gets worse. Getting in the way is one thing. Getting in the way while failing to inspire the city around you is quite another. People would be more willing to accept an interloper like this into their neighborhoods, into their views, if it were an exciting building. But 262 Fifth is not particularly exciting. It doesn't have a lot of character. People get frustrated by something taking their light, their air, and their resources without giving enough back. Cities like London and Paris have regulations protecting the sightlines of their landmarks. Barcelona restricts construction around the Sagrada Familia by city ordinance. New York hasn't done that and likely never will. Buy land here, build what you want. Even modest restrictions spark a fight every time. As one architecture critic put it, the idea of protecting a sightline is pretty alien from our civic culture. Nobody with their name on a permit is being asked to answer who decided this trade-off was acceptable. And here's the part nobody wants to answer. There's a huge amount of money in this city, and the super rich are always looking for somewhere to invest it. 262 will have just 26 properties across its entire 860-foot height, each averaging 3,200 square feet. The average apartment in Manhattan is 740 square feet. Whole-floor residences, no neighbors to create problems. Open-plan living that fetches a higher price. Structural cores relocated entirely. In many ways, today's developers aren't really building homes. They're building financial assets. Safety deposit boxes for the uber-wealthy. The math is straightforward. Selling 100 apartments at $700,000 each might net $70 million. But apartments at 262 Fifth start at $7.5 million. Sell all 26 at asking and you're looking at well over $200 million, closer to $500 million at the top end. That same plot can house something far more profitable, and that's exactly what happened. These buildings stand as a response to investment demand, not the housing crisis. Their architecture is about maximizing financial return, not creating shelter. As architect Matthew Soules writes, architecture is under tremendous pressure to satisfy an investment absorption role. The building is a vehicle for capital, not for people. The result is a mutation of the built environment. Buildings like 262 Fifth risk becoming what he calls zombie urbanism. Buildings that stand full but live empty. Owned, never occupied. Their bodies still there. Their essence gone. Very often, overseas buyers use these apartments to park cash outside their own economies. That's a real rub in a city where the rental vacancy rate has dropped to 1.4%, the lowest since 1968. For affordable units under $1,100 a month, that rate falls to 0.39%. 1 in every 250 affordable apartments is available at any given moment. Then the market gave its answer. In December 2024, the Attorney General cleared 262 Fifth for sales. The developer priced just 5 of the 26 units. 5. A spokesperson said the rest would be priced once the team could assess market conditions and receptivity. 7 months passed. By July 2025, not one contract had been signed. The sales team was replaced entirely in April 2026. By the time this video was made, 17 months had passed without a single deal. It's one thing to put up 100 apartments, you may not want it, but at least it does something about the housing shortage. This building serves perhaps 26 people. Many will likely be overseas buyers who aren't even there. So we're losing a view. We're losing light and air. That's how a city keeps signing off on towers for buyers who haven't shown up. And comparatively few people who may never live here, are gaining anything at all. So what does that leave? 26 units, 860 feet, 0 sold. The Empire State Building is still there, it just can't be seen from the street where it made its name. And the same model is already permitted in cities across America. 15 blocks north, 111 West 57th Street, the Steinway Tower, finally neared sellout in early 2026. It took 8 years. 2 sales teams, a 20% price cut on 9 units. And the same agency now handling 262 Fifth Avenue, Sotheby's International, was the one that closed it out. The building that proved the model could work also proved what the model actually costs: nearly a decade, a written-down loan, and prices the market refused to pay for years. That is the playbook 262 Fifth Avenue is now entering. On the face of it, New York still looks like New York. Its body is still there, but its soul is being steadily hollowed out. There are those who argue buildings like this generate significant property tax revenue. One penthouse can fund city services for years. That the engineering alone demands respect. That a city built on capitalism shouldn't be surprised when capitalism builds. But in a city where 500,000 households spend more than half their income on rent, one building on one corner absorbed $107 million in land, a $180 million construction loan, and 5 years of construction, and has yet to house a single person. For a household earning $70,000 a year, the threshold below which most New York renters qualify as rent-burdened, that's $3,000 a month going to rent before a single bill is paid. Nobody whose signature is on the permit is being asked to justify the view that's gone the units that haven't sold or the $180 million construction loan on a building with 0 contracts. That question is still open. This wasn't a rogue developer outrunning the system. It was a system that rewarded land assembly, vertical extraction, and maximum return, and punished nobody for a decade of redesigns, a complete sales team overhaul, a unit count cut nearly in half, and 17 months without a single sale. That gap didn't close itself. It came from working people priced out of a city building safety deposit boxes for buyers who haven't shown up yet. Would you have approved the permit knowing the view would go and the units might sit empty, or would you have walked away? If anyone reading this has stood at Madison Square Park and looked north recently in Nomad, Flatiron, or anywhere that view used to mean something, the comments are open. The same zoning logic that approved 262 Fifth is already active in Miami, Austin, and Nashville. You just don't know which corner yet. The project you just watched took years to fail publicly. The next one took longer and cost more. Subscribe, because by the time it makes the news, it's already too late. Comments are open. Name your city.